Hey, lovely soulmates, you're highly welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your subscriptions. Thank you so much for your like. Thank you so much for your comments. Please always try to drop a comment for me. I want to know what is on you people's mind. I want to, make it interactive. I want to carry you guys along, okay? So this dress is what we're going to be making today. You can see how lovely it is, okay? So I have this fabric here, and this fabric is a crepe fabric. Some people call it vintage fabric anyway. Some call it crepe fabric, okay? That is what I'm going to be using for this tutorial. And I have 3 years here, okay? I have 3 years of this fabric. And remember, this fabric is 60 inches by length, all right? So this is what we're going to be working with. And this palazzo, this jumpsuit is called a pleated jumpsuit, okay? It's called a waist snatched jumpsuit. So I went on to rule a line here, and this line is going to be for my crotch. I have 3.5 inches here, okay? So it is for my crotch, okay? So remember, this jumpsuit doesn't have half length, okay? It doesn't have any half cut. It is a cut together, and it's waist snatched. Honestly, this jumpsuit is very lovely. It's very cute. Like, I love it. As in, I couldn't, pull it out of my body after making it. So I'm going to roll my line there, and I'm going to measure my shoulder to my waist, and I'm just going to rule it and mark it. Please bear with me if you cannot see this chalk very well. I promise you will understand what I'm doing, okay? If it's not very clear, because I try to use white chalk, and I know you obviously will not show since this is a white fabric. So I went on to roll from my waist to my hip. I measured it, okay? You can see this line here, and this is my hip line, and this is after the hip line. Here is my crotch line. So I basically went on to rule the lines and label it, okay, to avoid wasting much time. So this is my hip, okay? You can see this other one, crotch, and the remaining length is what I'm going to be using for the length of my jumpsuit, okay? And the starting line here is going to be my shoulder line, okay? So how do you get what to set aside, like the 3.5 inches I set aside? Go ahead and divide your hip circumference by 10, okay? So whatever you get, that is what we're going to use. If you like, you can add 0.25 to it, okay? So since it's a cut together, I went on to measure my shoulder divided by 2. Then from there, I'm also going to measure my sleeve, and that is what I went on to mark, all right? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to get my shoulder slope. So I'm making use of 1 inch. Ordinarily, I'm supposed to make use of 1.5 inches, but remember, I'm working directly on my fabric, so I will need a joining allowance, okay? So I slope by 1 inch, so by the time I join it, I'll have another extra 0.5 inches reduced. So I'm working with neck width of 3 inches, and I went on to mark it, grab my ruler, and I'm just going to slope my shoulder this way, okay? So I was done making my shoulder slope, you can see it. So the next thing we are going to do is to measure the wideness of my sleeve. Remember, this is not really a very fitted on the sleeve area. So you do well to make it very free around there. I measured 11 inches and added 1.5 inches for my allowance, okay? So make it very free as you want on the sleeve area. So this line now becomes my bust line. This line where I marked 1.5 inches for my sleeve allowance is going to be my bust circumference line, okay? So I'll measure my bust circumference starting from after the 3.5 inches that I mark, okay? Then I'm going to be adding extra 8 inches to it, okay? I'm adding extra inches to this measurement, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on the waistline. So this line here is my waistline. I'll also measure my waist circumference divided by 4. Remember, all these measurements are starting after the 3 inches line, okay? So I will also add 8 inches to this. So we need this allowance so as to be able to use it to cinch our waist. Do you get? So I'm just going to mark on this line very well, okay? And as you can see, this line has become our bust point line, okay? So do you get? So the next thing I'm going to do is to rule a line here, and I'm going to do that by adding extra 1 inch allowance. Okay, so I'm adding extra 1 inch allowance to this line here, and I'm just going to rule it into a straight line. I'll grab my ruler and rule it into a straight line. Okay, so do you see that that includes my folding allowance for my sleeve? All right, so I'll also rule it into a straight line here. And do you see what we have there? So I'll make a little curve around there. Just make it a little, just a little curve, like 0.25 inwards. All right, so I proceeded to curve it out. So if you have watched my other Bible tutorial, you'll be very conversant with this curve I made around there. So here on my hip line, I am going to measure my hip circumference divided by 4. Okay, and I'm just going to be imputing 6 inches. Okay, so here I'm going to put in 6.5 inches, sorry, on the hip line. All right, so you can still put the impute the 8 inches. Okay, so I just choose the 6.5 inches, but if you impute the same 8 inches you as you did on your bust and under on your waist, is not bad at all. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have there. Whatever I get, I'll extend it down to the length of my jumpsuit. Okay, so you can see as I'm marking it straight, I am marking that same measurement I have on my hip straight down. Okay, so it's going to be straight from the hip area downwards. All right, so I was done marking it. Can you see? I'm just trying to work on there to see if the line can be very visible. So this line here, the next thing we are going to do is to get our crotch curve. Do you get? So this line here, remember, is our crotch line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to extend my crotch. So what I did here is I just subtracted about 0.3.25. Okay, and I mark and I come in, and I came in by 1.5 inches. Okay, if you have watched my other tutorial on drafting a pant trouser, you will be very conversant with what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to curve out on that area, but before I do that, I'm going to extend my hand towards the waistline area. Do you get? Okay, I'm trying to make this chalk very visible, because I don't want a situation where you people will not see what I'm doing. It will actually break my heart. Okay, so I'm just going to get my ruler and use my ruler to connect that curve. Okay, so I can have the best shape. You see what we have? Okay, so do you see? Okay, so um I was not curving, and the next thing that I'm going to do right now is to um take this straight down. Okay, I'm just going to take it straight down. All right, so that is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I kind of went in by about 1 inch. Okay, just 1 inch or 1.5 is okay, but remember, you are just going to curve it out around the crotch line. You're not going to subtract anything around the crotch area. Okay, this is just to give it a little curve around there. Do you get? To give it that shape. That shape will have around the below the crotch line. Do you get? So I was done doing that, and the next thing we are going to do right now is to work on the neckline area. Okay, so remember the style is a v-neck jumpsuit. Okay, so I'm just going to come down by 7 inches. That is how deep I want my neckline to be. Okay, I want it to be as deep as 7 inches, so I'll mark on that 7 inches. Okay, 7 inches below, and I'm just going to connect in a v shape. Do you get? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to mark what we're going to use to snatch our waistline on this waistline. So I'm going to mark, I'm just going to divide what we have here. Okay, I'm kind of going to divide it by 4. So I'm just measuring what I have here and I'm going to divide it by 4 or 5. Okay, so I'm measuring 4 inches and I'm measuring 4 inches, marking on 4 inches interval. I don't know if you get that. I'm marking on 4 inches interval, and this is what we have. You can see I have 4 of it. Okay, 4 of the lines there. So basically what I did is that I divided what I have around the waistline, the space I have, by 4. Okay, so then I'm going to go in by 1.5 inches. You can also divide that 4 inches further by 2. Okay, do you get? So I'm just going in by 1.5 inches. Okay, so as you can see, this is how we're going to hold it when we are going to sew our dart to form that waist cinching on it. Do you get? So I'm using 1.5 inches, and like I said, you can use 2 inches, which means dividing the 4 inches space by 2. Okay, so now we need joining allowance here, and I'm marking 0.5 inches here. Okay, we need joining allowance. This is center front. Okay, so we need to join it. Since we are working directly on our main fabric, I'm marking 0.5 inches from the neckline, the depth of the neckline, down to towards the waist, so that we can now reconnect it with our crotch line, reconnect it to the crotch line. Do you get? So I was not marking, and I'm just going to reconnect to the crotch line this way. Okay, so remember, you're not going to alter the neck, the crotch line. You're not going to do anything to it. Just reconnect and blend it to the crotch line. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do right now is to pick up my scissors, and I'm going to cut out. So after cutting out, I'm going to get another fabric for the back. So I was done cutting out. Can you see what we have? Can you see? Can you see our crotch? Okay, so I'll go ahead and fold it and set it aside to get our back. So here I folded in another fabric for our back, and remember, it's folded into 2, right? So I proceeded to add 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch. This is 4.5. Remember, the crotch of our front was 3.5. This is 4.5 here. So add 1 inch to whatever you set aside, or whatever you get after dividing your hip circumference by 10. Sorry, add 1 inch to it when cutting the back part. So I set aside 4.5 inches, and I'm just going to bring this front part, and I'm going to place it exactly on that 4.5 inches, allowing this particular 3.5 inch line to touch the 4.5 inch. Okay, aligning the line properly. This is because the reason why you make the crotch, the space for the back crotch bigger than the front crotch, is because remember, our hip is at the back. Okay, the front part of the hip is flat, while the back part of the hip carries all the whole flesh of the hip. So you need to give it that space to be able to relax very well. And remember, this jumpsuit, it doesn't need to, it need to be very free. Some people have issues after making jumpsuits, and if you follow this pattern of adding allowances of like 1 or 1.5 inches, or even 2, depending on how big you are at the back, it will help you. Okay, so I went on to extend that same crotch line to the back part. Okay, and I also went in by 4.25. okay, that is just quarter of an inch different. I went in and I connected. Okay, so I'm just going to connect this to the waist line, blend it towards the waist line, but it's temporary because we're going to be attaching zipper to this jumpsuit, and that implies that we're going to mark zipper allowance. So I'm marking zipper allowance of 1.5 inches, and I'm marking it starting from the neckline. Okay, so I will just mark it, and you know, so you're going to measure from the 4.5 inches line, then toward yourself to mark this 1.5 inches. That is what I did here for my zipper allowance. Okay, and it is time for me to get the neck depth for the back. I'm just using 2 inches for the neck depth for the back because my front is already deep. My front neckline is already deep, so I don't want the back to be deep as well. So I went on to measure that 2 inches, and I extended that 1.5 inches zipper allowance toward that 2 inches neck depth, and I'm just going to connect with my curve ruler. Okay, so I was done connecting, as you can rightly see. Okay, so here on the waist part we are going to work on it. I'll go in by 0.75. This is to eliminate any zipper bulge. You want it to sit looking very cute at the back side. Okay, so I came in by 0.75 and I curved it out. If you are conversant with my tutorials, you will know how to do this already. Okay, so I'm just going to trace this line because I'm going to notch it to indicate that that is the waistline. I'll trace it, and I'm also going to trace the hip line. I'll do the same tracing on the hip line, that is extending the marking on the hip line of the back. So these are very necessary so that I can be able to notch it and do the right thing. Okay, so I'm going to cut, and after cutting it will be time for me to transfer the waist cinching mark on the back part as well. After transferring it, we're going to go over to the machine and we'll start sewing our darts. So this is what I have after cutting. Do you see? So I notched this point, which was the waistline. I notched this point, the hip line, and this is the crotch line. Do you get? So this is what we have. Okay, can you see? So this is what we'll have. Okay, so below the crotch line I still added 1.5 inches allowance again. Do you get? So I just went on to set the front part aside, and I'm going to be marking that same 4 inches for the back part starting from after the zipper allowance line. So I'll mark that same 4 inches to the end. Okay, so you can see I was done marking it. You can see what we have, and I'll still mark the 1.5 inches that I did for the front, and that is what we're going to use to sew our darts. Okay, so if you're not getting what I'm doing here, don't worry, I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew the darts. I will sew it before your eyes so that you understand what we're doing here. So guys, if you have watched up to this point and you have not subscribed to my channel, please waste no time, go ahead and hit on the subscribe button, like this video, and please drop a comment. Please drop a comment, say something. When you see something, say something. Isn't that what they say? Say something. All right, just say what is in your mind, and if you don't want to talk too much, just say hi or thank you or well done. It goes a long way. Remember, thank you and please is that very important word. Okay, so I went on, and the next thing I did was to cut my lining for the neck, to turn the neck. This is the front lining, and this is the back lining. Okay, for the neck, to turn the neck. Okay, so I'm going to set it aside, and I'm just going to bring in my fabric. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to the machine, but before I do that, I'm going to determine where I want that to start and where I want it to stop. So I went from the waistline, I went up by 3 inches, and that is just what I am marking. Okay, so I went up by 3 inches from the waistline. Okay, can you see? And below the waistline, that is after the waistline, I went up by 4.5 inches. So here is me sewing it on my machine here. So you can see the two lines that I mark. I'm just going to pick one. Pay attention to this, please. I'm just going to pick on that line. Can you see where the line is? I'm going to sew exactly on the line. Can you take a look at the ones I've sewn? Okay, I'm just going to sew on the one. Just start from the 3 inches. I will just start from the 3 inches I marked above, and I'm going to sew down across the waistline down to the 4.5 inches I marked below the waistline. Do you get? So if you like, you can also use 4 inches below the waistline or 3.5 inches below the waistline. So can you see? So can you see how I pick it? It's as simple as that. And I'm going to pick the second part. Okay. Can you still see where I have the marking on? Can you see it? So once I pick it, as if I folded that line into two, then I sew on that marking there. Can you see? I believe you understand what I am doing. So when I'm done sewing it, I'm going to bring it for us to see what we have. So I was done and I started to measure, and boom, I have just what I need for my waist circumference divided by 2. So here it is on the table. Can you see the front part? Okay, so I forgot to say this. I joined the front part down to the crotch line before I started sewing this. Okay, so I joined it. So please do that when you are sewing yours. Join the front first, the center front. Okay, before you continue. So I went on to do the same thing on my back. I was not sewing the back part as well. Can you see? It's looking very beautiful, no doubt. You agree to that. So now I'm going to bring in the lining I cut out for the front and turn the front. But before I do that, I like to join my shoulder line first before I do that. So I'll go over to my machine, join the shoulder line, and I'll bring it back. So I was done joining the shoulder line, as you can see, and I'm going to open iron it. And after open ironing it, I'm going to turn it. So I went on to also join the lining part of the neckline. Can you see it here? So I'm also going to open iron the lining part. I just like doing that. It makes the cloth relax very well and look more prettier. So after open ironing them, I'm going to align the center front of the main fabric with the center front of the lining piece and align the joining on the shoulder of all, and I'll join and bring it back. So here I was done joining. So I sewed and also top stitch. Can you see? And I made a one-time folding on the lining. Okay, can you see on the hem of the lining? Okay, so I also went on to join the back crotch. So I started from where I want my zipper to stop, and I joined. Okay, can you see where I stopped there? That's where my zipper will continue. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do, the next thing I did was to hem my sleeve. Okay, can you see I hem my sleeve? And it's time for us to join it, the sides. Okay, so I'm going to attach the sleeve and I'll join the side and bring it back for us to see. So I couldn't get a white zipper. I'm going to use this black zipper, which is an invisible zipper, to attach on this jumpsuit. So I will join after sewing my zipper. So I was not sewing my zipper and I also joined the side just as I mentioned earlier. Can you see what we have? Can you see? And I also closed the side. Can you see? Can you see? So I basically join all the side, everything. I've joined all the parts that need to be joined at this point. So what I left my allowance for pocket, okay. So I left a kind of space for where I'm going to fix my pocket. So can you see this line? I came down 1 inch below my waistline, okay, and that is where I started sewing, and I ended 7 inches below. So I measured 7 inches, and that is the space where my hand will pass through. So I'm going to use this fabric here for my pockets because the other fabric was not really enough. Okay, so please, if you're making yours, please use 3.5 inches yards of fabric or 4. So this is folded into 2, and I'm just going to come down by 2 inches and measure 9 inches, and I also go up again and measure another 1 inch. This is for joining allowance. So can you see? I'm just going to curve it out this way and curve this side here as well. Okay, so I'll proceed to cut out. So remember, this is folded into 4. It's going to serve for both of the pockets of the right and the left. All right. So I was done cutting, can you see? And I'm just going to open it up this way, and I'm going to place it wrong side facing wrong side, and I'm going to sew on the right side. Do you get? I'll sew on the right side on both of them. I'll turn it inside out. That is what I've done. Can you see? I've turned it inside out and top stitch on top. So it's now for me to bring our jumpsuit, and I'm going to attach the pockets to it. So I'm going to open it up this way and just mark where my stitch stop, both stitch, okay, the upper one and the down one. And I'm just going to align this opening, okay, this space for our hand to pass. I'm going to align it to the left and right side of this fabric here. Okay, I'll open it up this way, can you see? And this one is going to match up this side, and the other one is going to match up the other side. Can you see? So I'm just placing it front facing front basically, and I'll just mark where the pocket is starting and where it's going to stop. So I'll place it this way. This one goes with this other side, and the other one I'll sew it and I'll bring it back for you to see. So I was done sewing it, and this is what we have. Okay, so can you see as I open it and match it up, each one on the side close to it? Can you see? And I was done sewing. I did the same thing on this other side as well. Can you see? Okay, can you see? So I'm just going to serge this dress, the inside. I'm going to overlock it, but before then I'm going to hold the neck down with my hemming gum. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to turn it inside out. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, as I've mentioned, like this video, and drop a magic word for me. That is thank you. So this is what we have. This is the look. Can you see? So can you see the pockets? Looking so nice, so beautiful. So thank you so much for all you do. I really appreciate. Bye.